Hey, welcome everybody to not Talking Niagara, Spin Legal today. And I just want to say, first of all, like and follow us on Facebook, and
subscribe on YouTube.
Like and subscribe on YouTube. So thank you for that. And if you can, we would love you to ring the bell and make sure that you listen to us every week. Okay.
Set your alarm.
All right. And today we're going to be talking about, no, not that one. Not that one. Okay. Where did that come? Okay. Add that. It goes in at the bottom. Okay. Let's put the right banner on. Show.
Good idea.
Let's show the right banner. Show the right banner. Okay, so welcome to Spin Legal. This is episode 100, 13th of January 2026. And this is Peter Giblett and Angela Browne from Invictus Legal here. And our discussion tonight is what constitutes a personal injury claim. So we can cover some of that.
Champagne cork is being popped out and balloons are flying in the air. It's a 100th episode.
100th episode. Yeah. And I was looking under my media assets to see if we had anything that we could celebrate. And unfortunately, no. So I can put a bit of this on, or I can put a bit of this on, but I don't have, unfortunately, anything to celebrate the 100th anniversary.
It's sort of gone past Christmas, so.
Yeah, exactly. We're past Christmas now. So if you need to contact Invictus Legal, you can do so on 905-688-5598. Email Angela through angela@weareinvictus.legal, or me through peter@weareinvictus.legal. The website remains always weareinvictus.legal. And hey, there's a $5 prize if you can find the new things on the website this week.
Woo! Carefully on that website. There's tons of places to go, plenty of rabbit holes.
Plenty of rabbit holes to go down on our website. And I promise you, there's at least 3 new pages and probably 5 changes this week.
Well, we do this regularly because we like to keep our audience interested and informed and coming back.
Yeah. Okay. So the next thing to know, this is our topic of the day, is what constitutes a personal injury claim. And that's an interesting topic because there's a lot about personal injury. Probably personal injury is the most sought after type of civil lawsuit there is, isn't there?
Yeah, like say, for instance, you have whole law firms that are devoted to personal injury cases. They don't deal with anything else other than personal injury. They don't care about your marriage. They don't care about your divorce. They don't care about your wrongful termination.
They've got 150 lawyers dealing with personal injury alone.
Yep, right. These are the ones that line themselves up in the ambulance and going into the waiting rooms of the hospitals and knocking on patients' doors. Sign this, sign this. When you see them going at nighttime, hire so-and-so, because we're the best and you're entitled to get what you deserve. These are the people who do personal injury law. And many of them are quite good.
Oh, yeah. And also what you've got to remember is, of course, our friends across the river who had the 888888. Remember the 8s?
Oh, yes.
Right. But that law firm split into 2, re-merged, split into 2, and they don't know what's happened to them now.
Anyway. Yeah, because I think what happens is either one of them gets disbarred or one of them quits, or or they sue each other.
Yeah, or they have an argument and half the firm go with one in one direction, half go the other direction. Sorry?
Salino and Barnes or something?
That was the one. Yes. All the 8s. Okay. But personal injury claims, essentially with personal injury, there's from the very minor mundane to the very serious in terms of personal injury. and there's a whole range of them, and a lot of people think about motor accidents.
Yeah, because that's what most of these personal injury lawyers act. He says, we'll fight your insurance company for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Many times these cases happen, and it's not necessarily something that is attached to automobile insurance.
Absolutely.
Many times another insurance company will come out and write a check, such as if something happens on your property, for occupier's liability, for example, you're going to deliver something to somebody's home, and then you slip and fall on their walk and injure yourself. That's called occupier's liability, and they have to take responsibility for that. It comes with their home insurance, and
and in fact, actually,
write a check to you.
And while you're talking about insurance, Angela, of course, it could be your own personal insurance policy that you're dealing with, right? So, for example, if you slipped and fell on the steps leading down from the deck, and had a personal injury that way, where you're claiming from your insurance because maybe you're now crippled for life.
Yeah, you have to sue yourself. Yeah, you have to get to sue yourself.
Yeah,
Like in this office, like if Peter or I injured ourselves, then we have to sue ourselves. We have to sue Invictus Legal.
Yeah. and that does happen, of course, but that's another. So there's a whole heap of things like that. So again, slip and fall, dog bites, other minor injuries, and I would be.
Represent anybody in a dog bite? I have.
I'd be the first to say a dog bite is not a minor injury.
It's not. Right? It's not. It can go septic.
Yeah.
Then there's rabies.
You could lose a limb. You could lose a limb if you don't take appropriate medical attention.
And I've dealt with dog bites. And fortunately, people recovered. But there's still some trauma.
Yeah. But generally...
especially in the wintertime, when people decide that they don't have to do their sidewalks because they're special, or you're the mayor of Niagara Falls, you don't have to do your walks, but everybody else has to.
No, we do. We actually do have to do your sidewalks.
Yeah, in St. Catharines, this was bylaw for a long time.
Yeah,
it
was 2 years ago that it was put in as a bylaw in the middle of the summer, funnily enough. Obviously there are some areas in Niagara Falls whereby the city truck goes and sorts the paths and and plows the paths in order to make them free. For example, if you're going up Lundy's Lane or Thoroldstone Road, and you're walking up the road, you would expect the sidewalk to be cleared of snow, and I wouldn't be expecting the homeowner to go clear it. So the person living at 6392, Thoroldstone Road would not be expected to go clear their path because, in fact, it's a major road. They'd be expected to clear out to the path, but in fact, at a certain point, there would be a city path cleaner would come out and actually do the path cleaning.
Yeah, that's sort of like even the ones when they plow the roads, how they plow the main roads first. And the side roads are left till spring.
Well, actually, we get privilege. We get certain privilege. Because I made a complaint. Because I actually made a Facebook complaint a while back about how the side roads are left. I seem to get the tractor comes down my road first.
Well, if you're 2nd Avenue, isn't that kind of like a main road?
No. Ours is a cul-de-sac, and really? I made the point that they never did the cul-de-sacs. So the mayor took offense to that and ordered that they do the cul-de-sacs first, starting with 2nd Avenue.
Well, that's why I usually just say to them, I said, well, when am I going to get my side street done? Then they said, well, we usually start those in the spring.
Yeah.
Right. I said, what am I paying taxes for?
But okay, in winter we joke about it in winter, slip and fall, but in fact probably most slip and fall type incidents do occur in winter, don't they?
Yeah, they do, because of the ice.
Yeah.
And also sometimes the difficulties of managing the ice and the weather, visibility as well, and also even driving, because driving in bad weather, not everybody knows how to drive with the weather. They drive like, well, it
Isn't
says
that
I
true?
can go 50 miles an hour, kilograms an hour, so I'm going to go 50 kilometers an hour, and then they go and they hit a tree or something.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so there's a lot of people who do stupid things in crazy weather.
Well, you've got the ones that do 60 kilometers an hour on a road that probably can't do 20. You can't take 20 kilometers an hour, and then you've got the people who go 5 kilometers in an hour on a road that has been cleared and has got no current snow or ice on it, and in fact has been clear for a week.
Yep, and they're just sitting there and they're driving along, and I don't want to say who does that, but I think we all know. All our listeners know people who do that.
Okay,
anyways, we have so those are different things that can happen. There's also the tort of negligence when you walk into a store. They always put these wet floor signs, right? Ever seen that when there is a wet floor sign?
Yep. Oh yeah.
They don't always put the wet floor signs up, or maybe they don't put them where they should be put. And then
what interests me about wet floor signs, Angela, is how you walk into the store and there's 5 wet floor signs around the entrance. There's not a drop of water anywhere to be seen.
Yeah, exactly. Until you actually get into the store, and then you go, woo!
Yeah, and there's not a single wet floor sign there. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've represented them. I sued a no for else one time.
Well, actually, talking about these sort of things, and we were talking about minor slips and falls. A slip and fall, for example, our Zayres store was recently refurbished from, totally refurbished, brand new everything. So I'm privileged, right? Privileged individual, right? Having a nice new Zayres store. But essentially what happened there is the entire time when they were refurbishing this, I'm looking around thinking there's a slip and fall any second now.
There's a lawsuit everywhere here.
Yeah, because in fact, you've got this hump and a bump over there, and another thing where they've put the displays where it shouldn't be, and somebody's going to get their finger chopped off.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of and I bet as the worker working on those sort of things, you leave it with crossing your fingers, saying, "I hope nobody falls."
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah. So this is the kind of thing you just kind of say, okay, we're going to, yeah. And people, sometimes you can warn people. That's fine, but it still doesn't necessarily alleviate you of all liability.
Yeah.
When that's done.
Doesn't alleviate the liability.
You have to take what they call a standard of care, a duty of care.
Yeah, yeah.
And it has to be up to acceptable standards. That's the same reason why I had a guy who was driving his car down a road, and he threw his axle off and busted his tire alignment when he hit a pothole. And in a city here in Niagara region that won't be named. And then he found out so it ended up costing him several thousands of dollars. So we went after the particular municipality, and they kept saying, "Oh, well, we keep our roads up to standard and everything else." So I sent pictures of the pothole that was still there after 5 days, after he injured himself.
You must be talking about Welland, of course.
Oh yeah, Welland.
Everybody knows, right?
Yeah. Niagara Falls too is another one. Now, we all know about Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Like that too. Depends on where you are.
Let's move on from these minor injuries. So another category which needs to be considered is injuries from a crime, robbery, unlawful detention. obviously sexual injuries could, sexual injuries could be included in that. Mental abuse and other things.
Domestic violence.
Yeah.
Domestic violence is actually going to become a tort because the courts are starting to make
and we'll come on to that in a little while as well. Right. Now, one of the things you were talking about beforehand is the fact that there used to be the Criminal Injuries Compensation Board. But what happens now? So essentially, if you are injured out of a crime, how do you get compensated?
You don't, but they'll send you to victim services so you can get some kind of therapy and some support if you if they busted your glasses or something, they could do that. But you can't do what they used to do in terms of mental injuries or whatever came out of it.
But again, let's say that you were in a supermarket and a person came in with a gun and and basically set off one slug in your direction, and because they were just shooting up the furniture, but you happen to be there, and you go down with a pretty bad leg injury or something like that.
And yeah, this is the thing. Like they'll say, well, you can go ahead and sue the criminal. And I said, yeah, they probably don't have 5 cents to their name. But one of the things that really, there needs to be something like that available through the state.
Well, you could sue.
We had this all the way up till 2018 or 19. And then our wonderful premier, in his own wisdom, decided to stop using that program and change a lot of things, so that put more focus on the victim services and counseling services, which is still good. It's still good because people do need a lot.
Well, counseling is one thing, but I've just talked about
have some other kind of recognition. What happens if you can't make a living anymore?
Yeah. Well, I'm just talking about somebody who got
to claim, like if you're in a store and you're working there could be a workers' compensation case. Or if you if it was through a motor vehicle type of thing, and then the guy carjacked you and then he smashed into a tree, then there could be a case there where you can claim through insurance. There's a lot of different things like that, but not every one of them has an insurance company attached to it.
Okay, so I was just talking about a store. It doesn't really matter what the store is. So you were shot and injured during a store robbery, and could you claim against the store?
You could.
Because you are claiming
liability,
insurance, the occupiers' liability, etc. Yes.
Yeah, you could. And I think there was one person tried something like that. I'm not sure the success of it, but it is a possibility of suing, because here's a store, they're leaving somebody all by themselves, a minimum wage worker, and they're all selling booze and drugs and everything else up there. And then these minimum wage workers are working by themselves. And then these thugs walk in, and then they decide that they're going to take everything from your cash drawer and everything else. And then they decide to shoot you for good measure. I mean, I mean, this is the thing that we're being put at risk now. Like, there's certain jobs you just don't want to do.
Yeah. Okay. So
as often as people think, but it does, because I've met people who I have an Avondale right about a couple of blocks away from where I live. And I've met 3 people who are at that Avondale who at different times were involved where a robbery came in.
Yeah. Okay.
And
so next
we're off because of PTSD.
Yeah. The next one in here is about intentional infliction of mental abuse. Things like bullying, domestic violence, even childhood sexual violence would come into play here.
Yes, exactly. And this is where we used to use a criminal compensation board. The person who I dealt with, I had a very good case, and I got almost all of it, the total max.
Mm-hmm.
It was from her father, and he died. And we did this, and some of the horrific circumstances this person was through. And we brought that to their attention. And you talk about, but when you do this, you have to come up with things. You can't just say, oh, I was beat up when I was a kid. You can't. You have to show that there was
Yeah.
a pattern where you sought help, where there might have been some counseling, like corroborative evidence, of things. Hey, or you might have called the police at one time for some things. And I had another guy who I went to the compensation board. I guess his neighbor decided that he should go back to his own country, even though his own country was Canada, because that's where he was born. Right? But he didn't like the fact that he practiced Islam.
Yeah.
Right? So I mean,
just don't like people who think that.
Justin O'Donnell, WhatsApp audio.
I don't. I'm not keen on the people who think that their way of thinking is the only way of thinking.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing.
Yeah.
So what happened is that this gentleman, he eventually got charged and so forth. And I was talking to the police at the time about whether this would be registered as a hate crime of some sort, because it should be, right? Because it was against the fellow's religion. And then, but I was able to also get him near the max of compensation.
Yeah.
But these things, the Criminal Injuries Compensation Board is a board where people should be able to deal with that sort of thing. It helps them in some ways, or there was a maximum amount of money that you can claim. It's like equivalent to at that time what was a small claims court. But but right now we don't have the same type of avenues where we can access that.
That seems to me a pity, because there are plenty of occasions whereby it's not the shopkeeper's fault.
Yeah. What if you got mugged and you got mugged and you're walking on your way to public transit and you get mugged?
Yeah. And you're in the street.
Yeah, and you're in the street.
And you've got no reason to be afraid, because in fact the times that you previously walked that street, there's not even been a person there.
Yeah, exactly. So these are things that we need to consider, because this causes a great deal of distress.
Yeah.
Okay. So we talk about it, and then there's bullying. Okay. Bullying can happen anywhere. It can happen to kids. It can happen to adults. Happen to teenagers. I mean, I've been talking about there is bullying where people often come back to us about their child being bullied in school.
Yeah.
And schools failing to take action against the bully. Sometimes the person who is the victim of the bullying is the one that gets punished. And this is why sometimes the school boards need to be sued.
Yeah, and that actually is a problem within with bullying, because there's a tendency to kind of take the kind of, you're all at fault here. I'm going to be applying this rule to every one of you. Doesn't matter whether you're an A student or an E student or an F student.
Exactly. And the thing is, and then there's mental abuse, where if you're in a workplace where your boss is constantly putting you down, severe abuse, and it can happen not only from a boss, it can also happen by a colleague or even somebody who's subordinate to you.
Yeah,
these things can happen anytime, and what they do, it depends on what they do and how they do it, and what they're trying to do and what they're trying to achieve. And if they can do that, it could create a lot of mental distress damage.
Yeah.
And yes, that person has committed kind of a intentional infliction of mental distress. Domestic violence. Now the courts are starting to look at that as being a tort in itself. So if you're living in an intimate personal relationship and that person is aggressive and violent to you and putting you under a lot of control, okay, it's not good. So that can result in a lot of things, because people, even if you left that relationship, sometimes many years later you're still affected.
Well, arguably that's also a crime.
Yeah, it's a crime. And I don't know. Some more of these people should be thrown in jail. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, well, whether we did throw everybody in jail, I said the jails would be so full, we have to build several more of them.
Yeah. And things like childhood sexual abuse is another area that's opening up to a lot of change.
Yep, exactly. There's a lot of public regard for this. Like we recently had a case here in Welland where somebody decided he was going to break into somebody's house and took the 2-year-old or 3-year-old child and literally raped her and assaulted her.
Yeah.
And now the child, of course, is recovering, but whether she completely recovers is going to be another question. But this fellow, apparently he was just in jail and he finished serving his sentence for an earlier assault of a similar nature.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there's time to start pulling the dangerous offender.
Well, one of the questions about that is that childhood sexual abuse not only rears its ugly head in terms of you ruin a child's life, likely ruin a child's life. It's only the strongest of children that manage to get through and manage to get and build a life for themselves. The other thing that often happens with abuse victims is that they become future abusers.
Yeah, and exactly. And this is something why they need to get help. Right?
Yeah.
So that they know what happened to them was wrong and that they learn how to interact with people so that they're not going to do the same thing.
Okay. Let's cover one other area before we go on to the main bulk of it. Trespass to person, negligence, and nuisance. We'll talk about negligence in more detail later on. Trespass to person is assault and battery, and these are not the criminal definitions of assault and battery, but in fact actually the tortious definitions of assault and battery.
It's a civil liability.
Yeah.
A criminal liability is when you have an assault under the criminal code. When it's a civil liability, it's a tort, and it only requires a civil burden to prove that a tort had occurred.
Yeah. And
whereas criminal, you have to have beyond a reasonable doubt.
And for example, under personal injury, because our claim is about what constitutes personal injury claim, trespass to person does cover assault, which is where you make a person fearful for their safety, personal safety, or the safety of another person in their care, right? And the other
stalking.
one is battery, which is where they actually attack another person.
Yeah. I've seen cases where now there's situations where you can actually sue someone for stalking, doxing, and attacking people on the internet.
Yeah.
Cyber abuse. And that's a tort because that's an intentional tort.
Yeah. Okay. Nuisance is another interesting area because nuisance is basically where things that are on your land get out. Something like water, you've got a lake on your land and for whatever reason you don't keep the boundaries in check and it floods my land.
Yeah. And that's when you're going to...
It's not really a personal injury, but it could cause personal injury.
It could cause a personal injury, that if the water goes onto your land and you're going out to your back porch, you didn't realize the water was out there and then you slip and fall.
Yep. Well, the other thing is that the primary case in this one was where water got onto the land of a mine owner and 30 men drowned in the mine.
Yep.
Right? So clearly that's a personal injury. That's beyond a personal injury, but it's a case that would have happened about 150 years ago.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things that can happen. Negligence is very common when we're talking about things like slip and fall suits, motor vehicle accidents, even bicycle accidents when you're What about if you're a cyclist and you're cycling in a bike lane like you're supposed to, but then and then a motor vehicle accidentally gets into that lane and then you hit that motor vehicle, or you get what some cyclists call being doored, meaning that they drive by your vehicle and then you open the vehicle, not even looking what's going on behind you, and then the cyclist goes whee, you know. that that's also something that's
well, it's an interesting one. You're talking about that. One thing that happened to me when I was in my 20s and in London, I used to cycle to work, and I cycled down Oxford Street. And as many people might know, Oxford Street is full of buses, and they used to have these open deck buses back in the day. And what I had is an odd situation. I'm going inside the bus, between the bus and the pavement, and a woman on the bus decided she was going to jump off the bus at the same time as a man on the pavement decided he was going to jump on the bus. Right now, if I hadn't, what happened is they jumped forward, they bounced off my handlebars, and they went back. But if I hadn't have been there, they'd have bounced off each other's head and gone back.
Yeah, there'd be head banging for sure.
Yeah, there would have been a certain amount of head banging, that's for sure.
Head banging on Oxford Street.
Yeah. Okay, so let's look at, so just for people to know, not all personal injury claims are large. There is a limit of $50,000 in the small claims court now.
Yeah, and I've taken cases for slip and falls to small claims, and I've taken dog bites to small claims. Depending on the severity of the claim, we evaluate it and we see what kind of damage it's done, and we get a medical assessment and we review it, and we also have to get an OHIP log too to figure out what kind of medical treatments they got and how much that costs, because we have to fight on behalf of OHIP too and get some money for them.
Yeah. Okay. So, obviously your motor vehicle claims are could often reach into the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Like, say, what happens if you become brain dead or you become brain injured to a point where you can't work anymore?
Well, I'm also thinking
claims catastrophic. Yeah. And then
what also happens if
benefits can pay you over $1 million, pay for your care and everything for the rest of your life. And then there's also some other, and also a tort, which could be put into a structured settlement. We've met people who are under that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And there's actually been some abuse of structured settlements, sadly enough.
Yep, exactly. Where people decide, hey, money, the vultures start circling.
Yeah. It's like, hey, Angela's got money. I'm going to scrape off as much money as I can. It's all mine.
Yeah, I'm going to walk in and I'm going to become her power of attorney.
Yeah. Although that actually, it's a side issue. That's not really personal injury, but it can result. And the thing is that, for example, we were dealing with a case a while ago. We were giving some advice on a case a while ago about a person who had been injured as a child. So injured as actually just I think 2 or 3 years of age, they were injured, and essentially their life is one of having to have somebody manage their entire life for them.
Yeah.
They have a certain amount of independence, but they have suffered a catastrophic injury that is going to last them a lifetime. Whether that life be
can give that back.
Yeah. And
this is why it becomes very, very challenging for people who are in that situation.
Okay. One of the things that has to be pointed out is that our next one here, negligence. Negligence is probably when it comes to personal injury, is probably the number one money winner in personal injury, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Because basically, what happens in negligence is you didn't mean, let's say, okay, you parked your car on up your driveway, but there's a slope. You thought it was all parked okay. You wandered away, and and 5 minutes later you hear a scream as the next door neighbor's walking past, and the car runs her down.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That was, that's related to negligence. There's a duty of care involved. Did you set the brakes on your car correctly? There's a standard of care involved that should you have considered the safety of people walking past in relation to your, where you park the car, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the question was, either of those, duties breached.
Yeah, exactly. Like, for example, like pavements, sidewalks, stairways, escalators, they all have a minimum standard that they have to meet before they could, like, in order for them to be used by the public.
Yeah.
If the standard is not met, and you can show this, that the standard's not met, then they could be liable for negligence, particularly if somebody gets injured as a result of it.
And here's a one which I'm going to throw in as just for devil's advocate position, right? So little boy comes up. I've got 4 wooden steps up to my doorbell, and little boy comes up on a snowy day and goes ding dong, and slips and falls on his ass as he's going down the stairs to run away. And now that could cost you a lot of money.
He gets injured playing Nicky Nine Doors.
Yeah. That could cost you some money, couldn't it?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you're going to be the one who pays.
Yeah. Ironically, of course, you personally won't pay. It's likely your insurance company will pay.
Yeah, but it was almost funny when I don't know if you ever saw the series Liar Liar with Jim Carrey.
Yeah, I saw the film.
And then he was in there, and his secretary was really upset about the whole personal injury business, and she's saying that her friend got burglarized, and he fell through the skylight, and then he fell down on and injured himself on the floor of the house. And then she says, and the court awarded him, the burglar, $10,000. Then of course Jim Carrey goes back in his character, says, I would have got 20.
Of course, yeah.
So these things, that's what happens. You could be, if you have a property that you got a lot of crazy stuff on it, where you're setting traps and stuff like that, and someone goes on there and injures himself, you can be held liable.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So just be very careful. Like, there's ways to discourage burglars. They're called alarms. They're called locks. There's ways to discourage burglars. And use those instead of trying to set bear traps and stuff on your property.
Okay, so we've just been giving you a brief overview of what constitutes a personal injury law legal claim, and obviously what we can do in a 45-minute or 40-minute program is only really kind of summarize the basics at this, and we've aimed to do it in a way that's kind of jovial and lighthearted, not because
the audience engaged, smiling, laughing a little bit, that sort of thing, or else people will go, oh.
Yeah. Well, and in fact, actually,
cases from 1215 and so forth, and how.
But in fact, actually, we have to do it in a light-hearted manner because, in fact, as Angela just pointed out, you'd be bored to death if we did it in serious manner. And in fact, actually, if you have suffered one of these, it likely is very serious. You probably hurt like hell.
Yep, and it's very important if you injured yourself, and it doesn't just go away.
No.
I've fallen down and I skinned my knees a few times. I'm not going to worry about it. But if you fall down and you break a bone or something, or really seriously injure yourself in some way, then that's the time when you need to start collecting names, making reports, and law offices, including ours.
Yeah. Okay, so if you need to contact Invictus Legal, you can do so on 905-688-5598. Email Angela through angelo@weareinvictus.legal, me through peter@weareinvictus.legal, and our website is weareinvictus.legal. All right, and Angela has got this piece.
So what you heard today on Spin Legal, despite the fact that we try to give case law and different things like that a nice little run, hey, it is not legal advice. Hey, this is just very general information that we provide to the public. Hey, neither StreamYard or Bending Spoons US Incorporated or anybody else that this is coming through, whether it's YouTube or Facebook, whatever, none of these people are endorsing the views that are presented on this program.
Yeah.
Nor is this legal advice. This is all the opinions of the people that are running this program.
All right.
So anyways, we hope to see you soon.
All right. Thank you, and have a great week, and enjoy yourselves, and we will see you next